Greetings, Kerbonauts! This is Kerbal Space Program. I'm Bob Fitch, and this is episode number 24 of Project Odyssey, and we have to put a deep space communication satellite up, just like we did last time. We're going to put it into L4, and then another one into L5 around the sun relative to Kerbin. This will provide long-range communications with places like Duna and Jewel. Whoops. We will not be going to space today. But maybe today we will. That was yesterday for me. That was a Friday night. And, no, I guess Saturday morning is no better. We are still not making it to space. Later, my daughter will be helping me with the rockets, and I said that to her, and she thought it was absolutely hilarious. Well, we are going to try to salvage this launch by checking the staging. Well, I guess when you're falling through the atmosphere as fast as we were, with giant satellite dishes on there, it kind of catches the wind a little and does a little spinning, not really much of a test. Sometimes, like with this one right here, I'll only go a little way up and then I'll intentionally stop the rocket and do the staging just to see how well it goes. I thought that I was pretty close on this one, so I set up a nice little spline to take the camera all around the outside of it. But ultimately, when we got into space, things were not as happy as they were down closer to the ground. In fact, I was a lot farther away from actually having this in orbit and on its way to its L4. Well, I guess this one's its L5. I'm launching the L5 one first. We were a lot further away from actually having this one go than I had thought. Deadly Reentry claimed another victim, so I worked on it throughout the afternoon, and later that day my daughter came and she started helping me. So I will take you now live to the Fitch family working on rockets.
Should I press space?
No, that's not going to help.
Okay.
Yeah, it's stuck. Here, let's do it this way. There we go. Oh, jeez. Oh! Oh, almost right by the thing.
Oh no. The thing's overheating because like the other ones are on and so it's burning it up because it's on too.
Yeah, that is what is happening.
Oh, I think we turned
But it's not overheating too much.
Well, yeah, but
it's just, it's warming up.
That's gonna be hilarious.
Okay, I don't think we're going to space today.
You should probably say that in the thing. Like, I don't think we're going to space today. When you put that in a video. Oh, that's going to be hilarious. If you were just going to go,
right,
oh,
ready?
It's stuck.
Staging test.
Okay, so some stages went. Whoa.
See, that one's still getting stuck. Oh, we're losing part of our fairing now and everything.
Nope. Okay. Well, yeah. Come on. You can do it. Come on, slow it down.
You want me to try to land it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Stay with us.
I'm crashing.
Stay with us. Stay with us. Don't die. Oh. It just...
Poof, it's gone. Hit it. Oh, it's a little wobbly off the start.
I wonder why you can't just go straight up when you're landing. Yeah.
Because the atmosphere isn't the problem, gravity is.
Oh, so it's pushing you down, so it just...
Yeah, so what we want to do is we want to stop fighting gravity as quick as we can. We don't worry about the air as much as we worry about gravity.
Okay.
So we want to start our turn really quickly.
So that you're not going down with gravity, you're just...
Once we can get...
less pressure.
See the line where the blue and the brown is on the nav ball right there?
Mm-hmm.
If we can get the nose of our craft pointing where the blue and the brown touch, then that means we're not putting any thrust toward gravity anymore. And that means we will be most optimal. Hit the spacebar. Oh, jeez!
I pressed it once, I promise.
I know. That was
Wee!
not ideal.
Spinny, spinny.
Booster. So now we'll test the next stage. Go ahead. That didn't come off.
Oh, look
Is
at
that thing stuck? Why is that stuck?
Let's see what happens.
We're going too fast.
You can see the numbers speeding by. It's no fun when it lands in water. Need to press spacebar.
Then press the spacebar. And we're off. Okay.
I say it.
Say what?
After you said "and we're off."
Or say it and I'll see if I know the movie reference.
To see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Oh dear. Yes. Oh.
That was the close.
Okay, one more time. Oh!
Oh, did you see it? Oh, that was awesome.
I think Mom wants you to go to bed.
Yeah.
And so then I took over. Late into Saturday night, I continued working on it, trying to perfect all the different stages, still failing at times. I can't figure out why I can't make those things decouple properly. I make small changes every time I do a new test, and still they keep on doing this. I will figure it out though, fear not. Ultimately, I went for a couple more hours and fed a couple more satellites to deadly re-entry, but gave up myself. I had also been under the directive by my daughter, don't launch without me, I want to see it finally go up when it's the real thing. Well, that's okay because it was on Sunday before we actually got it going. Okay.
Okay.
Countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Nice. You want to start from 10 that time?
No. So 10. No, start from 3.
Start from 60.
Okay. 60. 59.
No, we've already launched.
Okay.
It's flying really well so far.
My cheeks hurt.
Alright, we hit the 200 mark where it starts to require going on the proper velocity vector, and in a moment we're going to go through 300 where you really have to be careful. From 3 to 400 it gets difficult to control. Any rocket gets difficult to control as it breaks the sound barrier.
Okay, Vector, we're going on to the Vector. Roger, Roger.
I got your Vector, Victor. The first one.
Spacebar!
Oh, no.
Oh.
They're still getting stuck. Okay, do another one.
Spacebar!
Oh, that was better, but
yeah,
still dangerous. They come really close to flipping and hitting us.
I like to press spacebar.
You're very scary when you say that.
Well, I'm always scary when I say things like that. I like to press the spacebar. My precious.
Oh, my precious rocket. I want to press the space bar for my precious rocket.
I'm crying. So funny.
And spacebar. And we'll start gliding. Oh, hit it again. Again. Uh-oh. What happened there?
I think we did the stationary rock.
Alright, hold on. So we have all those.
Yeah, that was right. It was right up to up there.
We were
like
right
up to
there.
4 and
Although
3.
These, are you ready again?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. 10, 9, 8.
From 3!
3, 2, 1. Blast off!
We lost our ground again. there's a bug where if you go out to the launch pad, sometimes you don't see the base. From 3.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Boom, 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 boom. Okay, do it. Oh, no, no, no.
Oh. Okay. Well, that was actually kind of sort of peaceful.
One more.
Oh, that was kind of sort of graceful the first time.
We really need to work on that.
Yeah, we do.
We hit it.
I can see the tail.
Oh, 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 oh.
No, oh.
We're not high enough. Ready.
Take 10. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. It looks like it has a giant flaming tail. Nice.
Only because it has a giant flaming tail.
Yeah.
Okay, do it.
Slide.
Still not working.
Nope.
And do it.
Whoa.
One of them exploded.
Yeah.
Okay, do it.
There's an empty stage.
Do it. And one more. In the end, it seemed that the toroidal fuel tank, its module fuel tank, did not actually get set up correctly and didn't have fuel in it, so we didn't have enough. But finally, here we are, on our way into orbit with the launch that's actually going to go into deep space. As a reminder, here's an image of what positions we're talking about. Lagrange points are 5 locations where a small object affected only by gravity can maintain a stable orbit relative to 2 larger objects, in this case, Kerbin and the Sun. In the real world, these are points where the gravity of the larger masses provide exactly the force required to orbit with them both at the same time. KSP doesn't actually model this, we're just pretending. KSP would need n-body physics to really do it, and believe me, that would not be fun to play, even if you think it might. I don't want it. I suppose it's arguable that these points really are Lagrange points, though. The reason real satellites can't orbit stably in other locations is due to gravity. So n-body physics not only creates the Lagrange points, it necessitates them. Since we're in a single body system, we'll have the same stable orbit at those locations as we would if it had been real. Thus, the argument that it's really L4 and L5, just not the way you would normally think. We can ignore the fact that every position on the Kerbin orbit is just as stable, wink, wink, wink. Anyway, here we are, we'll go and orbit the Sun from L4 and L5 and bounce our remote tech signal off the satellites to get around the Sun or any other objects that might get in the way. The upper stage of my lifter is up high enough now that it would deorbit if I stopped burning here, but if I keep burning, then it won't deorbit. And I want it to deorbit, but I don't want to lose all the fuel. So I'm going to angle it straight up in the air, which will increase our orbit without actually bringing up the periapsis of it. So we'll still burn up that lower stage, but we'll also gain the benefit of the fuel that was in it. That looks pretty cool with that lower stage dropping away back toward the surface there. Now it's time to set up the maneuver node that is going to take us away from Kerbin. I'm going to select a node and then just drag it around and angle it until we are traveling the exact same direction that Kerbin is traveling. That will send us way out in front of Kerbin, but in a slower orbit, bringing us behind Kerbin when we come back to this location later. The propulsion for the ejection stage here is provided by a little booster stage that looks strikingly like a frigate, don't you think? The real world version of this booster has many uses and it's often used with various Soyuz launches. My version even has the toroidal ring at the bottom for the extra fuel because it turned out I needed that extra fuel. Right here we're going to decouple some struts, those new decoupleable struts, and then release the satellite from the frigate class booster below it because now we are on an escape trajectory out of Kerbals' grasp. We will flip the frigate around just a little bit and then use the hydrazine monopropellant in order to back off to make absolutely sure that there's no collision with the mother satellite. Next up, we will activate the second largest dishes that I have available to me in this installation, and then the largest of the dishes that I have available because these are providing 50 gigameter and 500 gigameter range for our communications. Speaking of communications, I've never really talked much about what ranges I rebalanced the game for. Well, I put everything starting at 500 kilometers and then going up by factors of 10, with each of those ranges being for a specific purpose. Ooh, hold on a second. Here comes our satellite. This is Deep Space Comm. Deep Space Comm 2. Deep Space Comm 1, of course, was in the original project Odyssey, the first few episodes. But this is the reboot, and therefore we need a whole new one. You can see that I have a new engine down here. This is supposed to look like a Saturn V's lower stage engine. It's pretty cool looking if you ask me, so I took that one. I'm still using the Atlas style boosters, but I'm having some problems. Maybe the decouplers are throwing these away so hard that the G-forces are blowing them up sometimes. Also, even though they're not strutted at the top, it's pushing them out, and then the tops are coming and they're hitting right here. I gotta work on that still. Even though I have some little boosters, you can see them right there and right down there at the bottom. They're trying to help push it away, but so far it hasn't been really doing a great job of that. There's some retro thrusters down here, 4 of them around the outside of it, and then we can work our way up to a decoupler right there that releases that lower stage. Once that has been released, we work our way up to this one. That drops away Apollo Saturn launch style where the ring comes off the engine separately. And then we move into the engine itself, which I have put a camera right there so that I could get that inside the fairing look at the release of the fairing as it dropped away. Also Apollo-ish Saturn style. Moving our way up, we have more lights, more retro boosters. Oh, I made it go away. More retro boosters. These are ullage boosters to make sure that all of the fuel when we are about to start the engine, those blast off, pushing this forward just a little bit, and all the fuel goes rushing down to the bottom into the engine, making sure that it is actually fed properly and therefore will start correctly. And then here, underneath more lights and under that stage, we have the avionics ring attached to the fairing. And then we move into the goodies inside. We'll begin down here at the bottom with the frigate. This is attached with the decoupler right there and some of those decouplable struts. We'll take a closer look in here. I have a new engine specifically for this stage. It has a very, very low thrust to weight ratio, but a slightly higher efficiency than any other engine that I have so far. Then we have our monopropellant in here, as well as a toroidal tank attached to a strut just to bring it down a little bit further from here. We have the RCS jets pointing up and down here and left and right over there, which is good enough to provide the control that I need because it just needs to maneuver around a little bit. It's not trying to dock or anything like that. The top version, the payload, has them going up and down here to counter those, and right and left here to counter the up and down from there. All along the side there are more lights. There were some struts in here. Those struts came out of fire spitter. They're normally used for biplanes, but I thought they were pretty cool looking because they were nice and thin. There's a whole bunch of batteries on the outside, as well as a camera so that if I want to look at the payload I can. Around here on this side, we have our communications antenna there and our CPU, that decoupler, and now we have the satellite. I'm going to get a chance to show you the coolest new feature of Infernal Robotics. When you select the joints now, you can pull up an interface that allows you to manipulate them right here in the editor. How awesome is this? Oops, I didn't mean to make that go away. We'll do that one more time. So this allows me to see in the VAB what it's going to look like when I open it up and make sure that I have the joints rotating in the right direction as well as to the right distances. Now if we zoom in on this, you can see that I stuck a light, of course, right at the top there. We have the joint on the end of these bars. Those are also out of Infernal Robotics, sort of. They're the rework artwork. They're from the Athlete system. You can see an example of one right here. I have hooked mine up to have tweak scale on it though, so I can make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and guess what? Bigger. How's that for big? But these are pretty small. They just needed to extend up long enough to go above the payload here. Now if we zoom in a little bit closer, pull that away, we can see that joint there was on a little thing sticking out also from the Infernal Robotics rework. Same as these little beams along the side, those are from the rework set. Down at the bottom we have our usual satellite engine, fuel tank, a gyroscope with the solar panels attached to it. These are just one random part that I pulled off of the forums. I thought they looked pretty good, and so I wanted them, and I took them. And then we have our battery right there, and the biggest antenna dish that I have available on top of the root part, the AIES satellite core.
I think I've got it. All systems are coming back online now. We've got long-range scanners, cloaking, even the interspatial communicator.
Alright, bring us over their base for a level 3 scan, and then we'll call Eagle Base to make our report. Enhance. Enhance. Their base looks completely dead.
It is. Scans show no sign of life, no significant tech signatures. It's dead.
Where'd they go?
When our cloak interfered with the anomaly, we destroyed their space station, and any biological material on the surface around the base would have been either vaporized or sucked into another dimension.
Well, how can we tell which?
I'm not detecting any residual biomatter, and I would if they were vaporized.
Can you find the phase signature of the dimension where they went?
Yes, sir, but it could take months or even years.
Well, how about their Corbomite device? We can't even get home without it.
I can detect parts of the device, but there seems to have been an explosion in their R&D building. Almost nothing useful survived in there.
Alright, well, get the comm channel open to Eagle Base so we can make our report.
Oh my, we've got Kerbals in 4 different dimensions right now. 2 of them are home dimensions and 2 groups are stranded. My oh my. Well, we have to put up a second deep space communication satellite for the other side. We're going 1 to L4, 1 to L5, and the second one we're launching, we're going to do it in 36 seconds. Okay, maybe it doesn't technically take 36 seconds to do it for real. It looks like it's sped up a little bit here, huh? But it's going to be up there. Oh, look now, it's 16 seconds. We're going to be in the air, almost there now, powering through, going into a low parking orbit so that we can find where we need to leave Kerbin from to go backward on the orbit. The first one went forward, which is what put it into a higher orbit. The second one is going to go counter to the direction of Kerbin, and that's going to put it into a lower orbit, which means it's going to come around faster than the other one does. It's going to come around faster than Kerbin. And by coming around faster than Kerbin, that means we will reach this position in space again in front of Kerbin, making this the L4 satellite. We've set real quick there our communication satellites to make sure that they're pointing at the right things, and then dropping our orbit down almost to the point where it could have intercepted Eve if it wanted to. Open it up, and then we will make our way off into deeper space. So I know it can be difficult perhaps to track where all the Kerbals are and what they're doing from week to week. Given that they're in all these different dimensions, I'll give you a quick reminder where everybody is. So if we count the first dimension where we started as dimension 1, then we went to number 2 where we stayed for a while trying to get home. Number 3 is where Svetlana came from, and 4 is where we are now. Most of the crew is in 4, Bill and the Raptor are in 3, everybody else is still where they started. Ooh, here comes my second satellite. After my massive mod extravaganza over the last couple weeks, I've added a few more things. I've added Community Resource Pack, as well as B9, just to get these struts. This is the only part out of B9 that I have right now, is these struts right here. I've also added cargo transfer bags, which show up as these bags or these cylinders, and they have textures that you can modify on them to make them be whatever you want. Oxygen, food, water, that sort of thing. You can cycle through them, and then you can do the same thing over here. On these, we have oxygen and carbon dioxide and all these different things that you can have inside those. I've also added Kerbal attachment system. Now you're going to see, notice how it says fix my stats when I mouse over these? You're going to see that on a lot of the parts that I have, because I haven't finished configuring everything for my new install. I've also added the habitat pack, which we can pop out here and show. I'll just stack up all the different parts. We have a little orb there, a landing leg thing here that I used in a previous episode, the one where everything was blowing up on the moon a lot, and then a bunch of different station parts, which I'll probably eventually use for something. These are inflatable, so I can hit deploy on all of these, and you can see what they look like when they finish deploying. Also, this one at the bottom spins. I've added parts from the Infernal Robotics rework. This one I showed you last time where I zoomed it up and made it bigger. These are some of the other parts that I have. Different sizes of those little beams, different type of beam. All those I've put tweak scale on so I can make them bigger or smaller if I want. This is also the mod where I get those new decouplable struts, which I can show right there. And of course I still have all the old robotic stuff as well. Also new to this install is ScanSat, which has given me these scientific instruments that I can use, and they're also integrated with ScanSat, but I will probably integrate additional parts with it. Also added but not shown is Select Route. So with that one, if I were to hold down my Shift and my Control key at the same time, and then that turns blue like that, then left click on it, it has now reordered everything in this to make this the route part. Click something else like this, and boom. Totally reworked again, so that now this plate is the route part. Extremely handy mod to have if you have remote tech, and sometimes it has that bug where you need to reorder where you are by changing the route part so that it can actually find your antenna properly. Now we are going to continue building Odyssey Station. Odyssey Station seems to be a little bit inclined, and then I remembered, oh, I did that on purpose. I put an inclined orbit because I wanted to be able to access it from various different altitudes or latitudes. Yeah. Well, anyway, It's latitudes I'm talking about, but that rocket that you just saw a moment ago is not the one that is going to actually carry the station module up. It is this one. The other one turned out to be a little bit too small, and I will show you what I mean pretty soon, because you're going to get a chance to see what happened to the payload in the smaller version of the rocket. Instead, we are going to launch it on this 5-meter rocket. This one didn't have any solid boosters, but it does have 2 stages. Stage 1 is dropping away with my special little retro thrusters, and then the engine ring drops away, and then the engine for the last stage fires up. I guess technically there are some engines on the tug that is currently connected to the module inside that gigantic black fairing, but I don't know if I should really consider the tug as a stage. The tug's gonna stay up there. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the little boosters for a second that are on stage 1. I have used the engine controller. Oh, there it is. I have used the engine controller version 2 thing that I've talked about before in order to set those thrusters up with almost no thrust when they activate, and then they power up to full and then back down to 0 again. It creates a nice smooth curve that I've been really happy with how that decouples and pulls away without being too fast, too abrupt. Oh, there's the module. We're flying along, waiting until we get to that descending node so we can make a slight adjustment here with the engines on that tug. You will note that there are 2 sets of engines on the tug. Pretty soon you're going to see me hit a hotkey that will flip the engines into mode 2. Mode 1 has the thrust going out the back. Mode 2 I'll mention in just a second. First, let's go back in time to when we were launching the first version that was on too small of a 3.75 meter. So that one didn't go quite as expected, but look at that. Look at how it's exploding into all those little bits. See that? I finally have taken the time to make sure all of my deadly reentry settings are just the way I want them, and it broke apart into a whole bunch of little bits and just blew into pieces, and each one of them burned up on its own. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe at some point in the future I'll have to, just for the fun of it, deorbit the Odyssey station just to see what it looks like, and then after that's all over I'll revert it, because it's really not me trying to make it happen. It's just I want to see it. Anyway, ooh, it looks like I flipped the engines around. I just did it again. This is what I was talking about before. I have the hotkey set up. There's engines on the radially on that tug, and sometimes they're pointing forward and sometimes they're pointing backward. The action group toggles them back and forth between the 2 versions. Oh, getting too close. Oh dear. Oh, no damage, no damage. Just a scratch, just a little missing paint. Nothing to worry about here, nothing to see. Hey, check out the new Navy Fish docking alignment indicator. It puts a little target reticle right on your docking port that you're shooting for. See that over there on the target? It has that prograde vector thing. Or the target vector. That is so cool. Anyway, I was saying those engines, the toggle puts them either forward or backward so that I can make sure that the thrust is going in whichever direction I want it to go. Since my RCS isn't powerful enough to actually stop my forward momentum, I can flip the engines and the radial set that points forward will slow me down, or flip them again and they go backward and I can go forward with it. I'll probably be using that tug in order to move various modules around. From now on, I'll keep that one up here, and new modules, when they come up, I'll just use that tug in order to move them and dock them in place. And here's that module, the Airlock module that was just launched. Working our way from the bottom, we have that 5-meter engine and a whole bunch of lights on the outside of that lower stage, an engine ring that lets me decouple away from there. Whoa, I can't see it. There we go. And then we have our second stage here, which gets boosted a little bit higher by the Ullage motors there. And then we can take that one away. See that I have my avionics ring at the bottom. And then we have this KW Rocketry 5-meter standard style fairing here. That one's pretty cool. I had strutted the interior, of course. Let me revert just a second and show you that. So up inside here, I have the decoupleable struts. You can see them right there running over there. And there's 12 of them running all down the side of it just to make sure it was super stable. You can see it with that part highlighter over there. Some at the bottom, some in the middle, some at the top. We'll take those sides away, grab that, and then work our way from the bottom. So this is the tug. You can see these are the 4 radial engines I was talking about. And if we go over here into the action groups, you can see that I have set up action group 1 shuts down one set and activates the other. Action group 2 does the reverse so that I can control both directions forward and backward. We also have our low orbit antenna on an action group, as well as the solar panels, although most of the time the solar panels are not going to be out. I have little round solar panels that are now sized with tweak scale so that I can have them at this lower size. Normally this is a 3.75, but right now this is set to a 2.5. You see that? Tweak scale. I love this little mod. Alright, so let's get those engines off there so we can see what still hasn't been accounted for. Docking at the bottom, I got a camera and the gyroscope to give it a little extra stability and control there. What's this on the side? How did that get on my rocket? Big RCS on this end to compensate for the massive swinging that's going to happen by the RCS that's on the other side. And those I intend to leave on there because once the station is in place and all this stuff is docked up, I'm going to want that RCS to balance the fact that this is going to be sticking way out in case I ever need to power it up. That RCS will help keep us from going off due to the center of mass being just kind of crazy on this. So the solar panels aren't really supposed to be out most of the time. Those are supposed to just be in and out only if I need a little extra charging, but it was really just a backup plan. I don't intend to really have those being in use for very much. Neither is this antenna. This is just a backup antenna. It's a longer range one. It should be off most of the time. That's the big fuel service tank right there. We have another, we got more lights on the side. Where is it? Here's another camera right there. There it is. And then we have our 2 antenna backup and primary and backup antenna. One's short range, one's long range. And then we have our root node there being the Space Tug's CPU connected to the docking port, or connected to a docking port, just so that I can hit this and then decouple it later when I need it to. Oh, it still says fix my stats. I haven't renamed some of these things. I'm not leaving all the names alone, and some of it may not be set up, like the max heat and other certain deadly reentry type things aren't set up, but a lot of the times it'll actually fly anyway, even with the thing saying fix my stats. I'm slowly but surely getting through all of them. Since that's the root part, I'm going to work my way from the top now. This is where we dock. So the station is up here and we dock this into it. That's a docking port with some hydrazine in those monopropellant engines on the side of it. And then we have this just basic structure here. This one has a carbon extractor. So this will be some of our life support system is in that module right there. Working our way down through here, you can see that I have now been able to put in more of those mono tanks that I talked about before, saying they hadn't been set up. Well, now they are radial mono tanks, scalable with tweak scale, and currently containing 274 liters of hydrazine on each side. It was symmetried to both sides there. We have a little crew tunnel, and there are some hatches that make it look cool and look realistic. Connecting to that, working our way down through structure. Oh, looks like we just lost one of our science instruments. So since this is the science section, this is the airlock in science, all of the science instruments are attached at various locations all around the outside of this. We have all the D-Magic ones as well as the stock ones, stuff like that all around the outside there. And this is where I will be doing a lot of my science from if I'm kind of pretending that the Kerbals are doing their anomaly science in space. We definitely need to always have an orbital anomaly science station. And last, down here at the bottom, you can see that I do have an ELC set up with a couple frams, one on each side. So if I ever need to bring up Kerbal attachment system boxes, I have some space right there, right next to the airlock. This is the airlock piece right here. I can flip it around and you can see it. Boop, boop, put that right there. Boop. All right, so there you go. Airlock 1, and it has a little keypad. You punch in the code and in you go. Well, that's gonna do it, Kerbonauts. Next week we have a big one for you. Look at that. That's the beginning of a launch that's going to Duna. And look what's in that fairing. Well, you can't really see what's in the fairing, but you know what I mean? It's look at the size of the fairing and just imagine what might be in there. You're going to find out next time because this one is over. Until then, I will see you later, Kerbonauts.